'Twas the night before Christmas, and snow dust the ground. The world so quiet, you'd think none were around. But in one small apartment, a light flickered and glowed. Not one could see in there through the flurries of snow. But if you listen real close, a most peculiar sound. The theme song to Mario Super Sluggers for Nintendo Wii, and a boy with wishes abound.
Mario Super Sluggers, the best game of all time, and you can't argue with that. Released in 2008, and every year since then, my one Christmas wish has been for a sequel. Hasn't happened yet, but this year I have confirmation that after 15 years, we are finally getting a new game. How do I know this? Well, let's just say I've done my part. And on top of that, for the first time in 15 years, I've been a good boy. And you know that means I get what I want. That's in the Bible. In fact, Mario Super Sluggers 2 has been my one biggest wish for years. I have been manifesting this for as long as I can remember, and I remember being 18, unfortunately. So, in anticipation of Mario Super Sluggers 2, I'm gonna be taking one last look at the first game, because come tomorrow, I'll be tossing this old tradition and moving on to the next one. So with that, let's dive into my favorite game of all time. America's favorite pastime. Slugs! There is nothing quite like a game of baseball. When it comes to watching men walk in circles for 3 hours, this is the place to be. One of the most classic sports of all time. But what if Mario? That's exactly the question Nintendo asked in 2005 with the creation of Mario Superstar Baseball for Nintendo GameCube. Developed by Namco and published by Nintendo on July 21st of that year, Superstar Baseball added yet another sport to the Mario Sports library, a library which already included multiple installments of Mario Golf and Mario Tennis, and would soon add Mario Soccer as well. And despite being Namco's first crack at developing a Mario sports game, Mario Superstar Baseball was pretty well received and is often looked back upon fondly today. I mean, they had everything you would want in a Mario baseball game. Mario items, balls? I don't know, I didn't play it, but you don't understand. What if we took the foundation of an already fun and unique baseball game and built upon it? Put it on a more powerful system that is taking the world by storm due to its revolutionary motion controls? Motion controls built around fun and accessible sports games that let you feel like you're actually swinging a real bat? Shit. Mario Super Sluggers, the best slug-based game I've ever played, and I've played Metal Slug. It felt like this game just had everything going for it, man. One of the biggest sports in the US and Japan, plastered with Mario's face on it, and released on one of the biggest systems of all time at the height of its popularity, with the perfect control scheme for a baseball game that anyone could enjoy. It is no wonder this game became a foundational part of my childhood, and so many others. But don't get me wrong, there is more than just a lucky set of circumstances that propelled this game to success, because inside this package is something incredibly polished, in-depth, and delicious. And inside this package is Mario Super Sluggers. Right off the bat, you know this game is going for something special. As soon as you fire up the game, you are met with a beautifully animated cutscene featuring all of the big Mario characters sailing up to the baseball kingdom, and just listen to how hype this music gets. Watch this cutscene again and again. It is just such a great intro to a game, and the music gets me so hyped about baseball. Baseball! I genuinely love this song. It still pops into my head to this day, and you can immediately see how way more effort went into this game than necessary. Such good music and animation for a skippable cutscene, and this is just the intro. This is ridiculous. I mean, if humans had intros this good, I would give birth right now. Out of any video game cutscene, I would live in this one if I could. But unfortunately, we can't stay here forever. We've got to actually let's play baseball, yeah, and we've got 6 modes to choose from, starting with your classic Mario baseball gameplay in Exhibition.
Here you can play against a friend or a computer where each team picks their 9 players to go head to head in the ol' ball game. And let me just say, this is honestly the largest and best roster of playable characters I have ever seen in a Mario game. I mean, so many of these characters just don't appear in games anymore. Wiggler, Toadsworth, Petey Piranha, Pianta, Paragoomba, Darkbones, Tiny Kong, question mark? I don't know why so many of these characters have been cut from future Mario games in favor of every possible variation of Peach, but in this one, they're all here. And they're not just reskins of other characters. Everyone has their own unique stats to determine their speed, hitting, pitching, and fielding ability. And you know what? Fuck Toadsworth. See, sometimes I think the developers don't actually know what pitches are hard to hit, because Toadsworth has the worst pitching in the game, making his throws incredibly slow. And that just makes it impossible to hit! But thankfully, this game does not come down to just drafting the players with the best or most busted stats, because there are actually a lot of unique mechanics here that can be fun to learn. For starters, every character has chemistry with a handful of other characters in the game. That's indicated by this music note that shows up above their heads when you select someone. This is something to keep in mind when building a team, because chemistry enables you to perform a few different types of special moves. First, when 2 characters with chemistry are next to each other in the outfield, you can perform a buddy jump. This is a super high jump you can activate by double tapping A, and if you time it perfectly, you can steal what was otherwise a sure home run. This was the special move I remember getting the most use out of as a kid, and it had to be the most satisfying when, just as your opponent starts celebrating a big hit, you snatch the ball away with some bullshit that's not even possible. Aside from that, you can also perform a buddy throw, which is basically a super fast throw back into the infield. And all of this stupid stuff is just in the most vanilla Sluggers game you could possibly play, because every stadium in the game, aside from Mario Stadium, which is basically just a field, has its own unique obstacles to mess with players on the field. And on top of that, if you have items on, you can just blow them up. See, when you have 2 characters with chemistry next to each other in the batting order, you get an item that can be shot into the field after hitting the ball. You can make the ball disappear, shoot fire, shells, and bombs, and combined with the stadium obstacles that will knock you down, light you on fire, turn out the lights, or freeze you, this is bullshit, and I love it. I mean, if you've never thought baseball would be better with some random bullshit, you're lying to yourself. Imagine Otani just froze. That shit's awesome. But it's this kind of stuff that makes Mario Super Sluggers special. They were unafraid to inject this sport with all sorts of Mario flair and personality, and they do it in a way that actually adds strategy and depth to the sport, without alienating people who just want to swing a bat and have fun. Maybe the mechanics sound a bit complicated when I explain it now, but trust me, when you're playing the game, everything flows so well, and button prompts always pop up on screen when you can do something cool, so no one is at a loss for what to do. And after all of this, I still haven't even mentioned the main thing you'll see in the trailers, which are the special hits and pitches every character can do. These are activated simply by pressing B when pitching or hitting, and this triggers a unique animation that'll cause some more weird stuff to happen, like making your hit bounce all over the place, grow flowers around it, drop a bomb, or you can pitch rainbows and tornadoes. Every one of the captain characters in this game has a unique move, and these are so much fun to watch. There are only 10 characters that have these unique animations though. The rest just get this little sparkly move that goes extra fast. And I do wish they had a unique special move for every character, but I understand why they don't. That would have taken a ton of extra effort to animate and balance different moves for each character, and also, can you really come up with a unique skill for Green Noki? Still, there is a ton of cool stuff here that makes this game stand out as a Mario sports game that truly runs with its wacky Mario identity, as do I. But what really sold me on this game as a kid, and still puts Mario Super Sluggers above newer Mario sports games in my mind, is Classic Mode. This mode blew my mind as a kid. There's a story? In baseball? The goal here was to travel around to each stadium, recruiting new characters to join your team and take on Bowser Jr. and Bowser in a good old-fashioned game of ball. And I just thought it was so cool that you could control the characters walking around in all of the stadiums. This did so much to make it feel like a living, breathing world, and more than just a baseball game, this was an actual video game. Even if it's a dumb, baseball-related story, you don't see story modes this in-depth in the modern Mario sports games, and it does so much to tie the experience together. Suddenly, there's an actual reason for all these characters to be together on a baseball island playing baseball. It's a stupid reason, but it's a reason. And there is an actual world to see here, filled with funny little character interactions, mini-games, and puzzles. And each of these will help you to unlock characters and stadiums to use in the rest of the game. And dude, when I found out you could click the sun to change the world into night mode, where every stadium looked cooler now and had different obstacles, that was incredible. All I did was look at the sun, and now the possibilities are doubled. That should be a thing in real life.
It does look dark now.
All of the stadiums were distinct visually and had unique gimmicks. To both explore and play baseball in, these were just fun locations. Yoshi Park, Wario City, Peach's Ice Garden, and have you heard of Bowser Jr.'s Playroom, or has your life not been worth living? Then there was the Luigi's Mansion Stadium you could only unlock in classic mode by buying the flashlight and going at night. That made me feel so accomplished. And in addition to all of this, they had cutscenes. And holy shit, the cutscenes. These had just as much effort put into them as the intro, and just getting these to play felt like a reward on their own. This was gorgeous animation for a Wii game. As a kid, it felt like I was participating in a blockbuster movie when I unlocked these, and even now, I think they are just so well animated and have so much personality. Honestly, these older Mario sports games had what I feel like is some of the most authentic representations of Mario characters. They have more emotion and personality than ever here. And when you put all of this together, a unique traversable world, various creative minigames, and an actual story highlighted with amazing cutscenes, you have, in my opinion, a phenomenal story mode for a game that didn't even really need one.
I've always been a fan of stories in places they don't belong. That's why I never return books to the library. Honestly, I feel like stories are most likely to connect with people when they come from an unexpected source. And Mario Super Sluggers? Well, okay, it's not Shakespeare, but Shakespeare didn't have minigames.
Minigame mode contains all the same minigames from classic mode, but here you've got the option to play them on their own and compete for high scores. I wouldn't say any of these are the most memorable part of the game, but I'm actually impressed with how many different situations the developers came up with where they could apply basic pitching, hitting, fielding, and base running mechanics. Like giant pinball, pitching into piranha plants' mouths, running the bases, except instead of scoring runs, you're trying not to get hit by a squid. There's a lot of clever ideas that I don't know how they thought of when the blueprint was just baseball.
What do we got?
Squid. But there is one more mode that to me feels like a minigame that just ended up getting so competitive they made it into its own game mode. Toy Field is one of those rare side modes that I actually remember playing almost as much as the real game. Where I got the most use out of Toy Field was whenever we had people over and wanted to do a 4-player game instead of just 1v1 baseball games. I mean, I think you could do a 4-player exhibition game where you just alternate which player is hitting, but that's dumb. I am a grown man and I don't want to take turns. I want to play with toys! So in Toy Field, you're on a field. But get this, it's a toy. Here the outfield is sectioned off into an array of different point values, and the batter gets points based off wherever their hit lands. But the 3 outfielders are all trying to catch the ball and end the turn with it in order to be the next up to bat. Thing is, everyone in the outfield will punch and kick the shit out of each other to get the ball until the turn's timer runs out. So once again, baseball but cool. Rinse and repeat the vicious cycle for 10, 20, or 30 turns until someone is crowned the winner. It reminds me a lot of this game I played as a kid called Jackpot or 500 or Jackpot 500, where everyone's just trying to catch the ball and get however many points the pitcher yells out. This is like that, but in video game form. So somehow I'm nostalgic for this game mode in 2 different ways. And it's pretty fun. One annoyance I had though was that for some reason you're required to play holding the remote sideways or with the nunchuck plugged in. You can't just swing the remote using motion controls like I would normally do. And I mean, are you seriously telling me I'm playing a baseball game on Wii and can't swing the remote like a bat? That feels like it's going against everything this game has going for it. That's like a library asking you to return a book. But I guess a change in control scheme for certain modes can provide a nice change of pace, as long as you can still do whatever you want in exhibition. And then you've got practice. You can practice. Alright, actually I feel like this was a useful mode unlike a lot of practice modes, because it is where I learned how to do buddy throws. And where would I be without that?
Is it A, then B?
Then finally, there is records. You can keep track of your top 5 scores in every minigame, see every character you've ever gotten MVP with, and I remember that inspired me and my sister to try and get MVP with everyone. We didn't end up getting there, but maybe Birdo just doesn't have what it takes. You can also watch the cutscenes again here, which I did do, and then there's this thing called Star Players. Apparently, after beating Bowser's team in Classic Mode, everyone on your winning roster will be elevated to Star Players, meaning you can use a star version of that character with increased stats. Honestly, I forgot about this, so I looked it up, and then had the most insane deja vu of my life as I remembered making the exact same Google search 12 years ago. And maybe that goes to show this isn't explained very well. I don't think they tell you what this means, they just slap stars on faces and go, well, here you go.
But speaking of here you go, I think it's about time I check for my present. It's right here, and it's Mario Tennis Aces.
Did somebody say tennis?
Yeah, what? How did you hear that?
Oh, I didn't. I just say that whenever I enter a room.
Well, I did just say tennis, because instead of Mario Super Sluggers 2, I just got this stupid tennis game.
Did somebody say tennis? Sorry, this counts as a new room. But seriously though, this game is sick. It's got everything you want in a Mario tennis game. Mario? Tennis?
But we've gotten so many Mario tennis games. There's been 3 of them since Super Sluggers came out and not a single new Mario baseball.
Come on, man, give tennis a try. It's not that much different than baseball. They both got balls.
Mario Tennis Aces, the worst baseball game I've ever played. This is something of a controversial Mario sports game because Nintendo actually tried with this one. After complaints about how bare bones Mario sports games in the 2010s were, especially Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Mario Tennis Aces provided some hope that Nintendo was actually listening to fans. Prior to release, we learned that they were bringing back an adventure mode that previous games were sorely lacking. Problem is, the adventure mode sucks. Okay, not exactly. I had some fun with this mode, and it's nice that it's at least here, but it still felt like the bare minimum. They had a couple cool cutscenes that they showed off in their trailers, but then the actual game just looked like this. Just stagnant cutouts of characters with the same 3 sound effects playing over and over again as you tap through dialogue. And what I remember most about this is that on release, each of the tennis challenges you have to complete here didn't have a retry option. So every time you lose, you're sent back out to the map where you then have to select the challenge again, mash through all the dialogue you've already read, just to reload the same challenge you were already in a minute ago, and potentially fail again. Obviously, kind of a half-baked attempt at a story mode here, but the real focus of this game came from online multiplayer. Here you could challenge online players in simple tennis or fun tennis. See, what really set this game apart was its new system for trick shots and special shots. If you time your trick shots just right, or stand in the star to hit the ball, you build up star meter for a chance to deliver a special shot that is almost unstoppable. This creates an actually very addictive and satisfying gameplay loop that, combined with using your normal tennis shots like slice, drop shot, and power shot, makes the game feel very strategic. Planning out exactly where you want to hit your next shot or when to use your special, timing things perfectly so your opponent won't be able to get there, it feels super rewarding. But damn it, it's not Sluggers. It feels like these sports games were just better in the past. Tennis Ace's story mode isn't as good, there's no mini games or cool side modes like Toy Field. It's built entirely around playing online, but what if you don't want to play online? And what if you go online, but certain people online are just abusing certain characters' trick shots to the point of being unbeatable with anyone else? And what if tennis balls are fuzzy and yellow and weird?
I feel like you're not giving this game a fair chance. It's still a Mario sports game, and you're hating on it because it has different balls?
Did somebody say balls?
Hell yeah! This guy's been obsessing over a stupid baseball game that hasn't gotten a sequel in the past 15 years. So I'm trying to show him some sports that are actually good.
A good sports game, eh? Well, if you want to see a real sports game, take a look at this.
You want to play Mario Strikers now?
But this isn't even the actual game.
I mean, why would I ever just be carrying around a copy of Mario Strikers?
But you do carry this?
Alright, I haven't really played this one, but let me tell you what I've heard. It's bad. Mario Strikers was another long dormant Mario sports franchise, but in 2022 it finally came back, and it came back with all of this. Yeah, there was not a lot of content in this game at launch. We got 10 characters in a game that requires 8 to be used at the same time, and just 5 stadiums, which is pathetic, especially when they all kinda look the same. But there was the promise that more would be added over time, and that's a practice that, honestly, a lot of people were fed up with already. I mean, I'll be honest, I never was as upset about these games being updated over time as some people were. People complain that it's just an excuse to release an unfinished game to start getting sales and then finish it later, and I don't think that's always the case with this stuff. But in this case it was. There is just not that much to this game, even less content than Mario Tennis Aces. And while they did end up adding 6 more characters and 3 more stadiums over time, that just doesn't do that much. These really feel like they should have been in the game at launch. As downloadable updates later down the line, it's not exciting. It doesn't change the game in any meaningful way, or give you any reason to pick up the game again unless you're a huge fan of Urban Rooftop.
Oh, come on, man. Urban Rooftop's like the best one.
It's a blue field.
Awesome.
It's just not the same. Super Sluggers had mechanics that were so simple, yet so complex. They had an actual thought-out story mode, enjoyable minigames, a ton of playable characters, an actual good amount of content. These present-day sports games are tiny at launch, then they added stupid updates after nobody cares anymore, and the updates they do add are boring!
Did somebody say boring?
What, are you here to show me boring ball now?
Yeah, I love golf.
You know what? No, okay? I'm done trying out these stupid-ass sports with tiny-ass balls. This is baseball country, and I will not subject myself to another game without Bowser Jr.'s Playroom.
If that's how you really feel, then let me show you something.
What did you do?
Look, this is Super Sluggers' future. The future you want, anyway.
What do you mean?
This is the timeline with Super Sluggers 2, and 3, and 4, and 25, and 6.
They call the 5th one 25?
Don't ask. All this happened after the success of Mario Super Sluggers. Nintendo dumped all their sports resources into baseball and never made another Mario sports game again. Just Super Sluggers.
That's amazing, but how are we here?
You have to have supernatural powers to enjoy golf. Now look, there you are.
Wow, he looks so happy. He's got like 60 Sluggers games. Is this really the future?
In this timeline it is. But look at this.
Citizens of the world, heed my call. Things are going bad out here in New Donk City. The world has fallen to ashes. Ronaldo went from one of the richest men in the world to one of the poorest overnight. Football, gone. Soccer, gone. Tennis, out of the dictionary. All of these fans out here, they're now broke. Not that they weren't before, but now they're like also homeless, and they have no entertainment. They have nothing to look forward to. They have none of their Sunday morning football games to see, and to, you know, that was their church. You know, they go there every morning. They meet with all their fellow fans. You know, it's their sense of community. Gone overnight. How can we help these poor people?
Did somebody say redacted?
What are we going to do, fellow citizens? Heed my call. We must do something.
Without the other Mario sports games, things fell apart. The soccer players, the tennis players, the golfers, they lost their homes, their lives.
Because they couldn't play tennis?
Exactly. You could stay in this timeline, but your friends won't be your friends. You'll have deprived the world of their favorite sports. All for a sequel to a dumb baseball game.
Awesome, let's do it.
Well, that just happened.
And that's why Mario Super Sluggers 37 is a return to form for the Mario Super Sluggers franchise, and the best Super Sluggers game since Super Sluggers 31. And now it's time for Super Sluggers 38. with an all-new multiplayer mode. Let me call up Robbie. You know, I did like Urban Rooftop. I guess those other sports games did have some value. I mean, having sequels to Mario Super Sluggers is great, but clearly those other games were special to people in the way that Sluggers is special to me. And does it really matter what sport we're playing as long as we're sharing it with people that we care about? I can play all kinds of games and connect with so many different people. And I can still play Super Sluggers 1. I will always love that game, and I don't need a sequel to validate that. I never needed Mario Super Sluggers 2 to be happy. I just needed friends to enjoy Mario Sports with.
Did somebody say Striker?
As the boy returned to fresh-decked halls, he learned to enjoy sports with different-sized balls. And though the evening was long, it was full of great fun. New friends he had found, and new games he had won. But as the light dwindled on the streets down below, a smile crossed his face as his head hit pillow. And when the morning light came, the boy heard a strange sound. He got out of bed, and he looked all around, till at once he looked down, and then said with a shudder,
Wait. Mario Super Sluggers?